The grain bill for this one's quite simple. It's 1.6 kilograms of Maris otter, 360 grams of flaked torrefied oats, 188 grams of carafils or carafoam from Weyermann, and 91 grams of Cara Gold from Crisp. As usual, you mash in and try to make sure that there are no dough balls in your mash. I do this using this spatula and breaking them up against the side and stirring vigorously. Once the mash in is complete, I adjust my hose and turn on the pump for a recirculation. We did this for a 60-minute mash. As this is a no sparge brew in the bag setup that I'm using today, I simply lifted the bag out, give it a bit of a squish, twisted it to maximise the amount of liquor I'm going to get out of this grain bag, and squeezed it as hard as I could. Some people say you shouldn't squeeze the mash bag, you'll get tannins and things like that. I disagree with that, and I guess it's each to their own. In saying that though, that grain bag is bloody hot. Well, you know, it wouldn't be an Audley's Brew Co video if I didn't include some hot break footage. So the first hop addition is just short of 6 grams of East Kent Golding, which goes in at the start of the boil. On this brew day I decided to change things up a bit and just do a 30-minute boil. I would probably live to regret that decision based on what came next. As you can see here, I'm giving the hop break a bit of a stir. That's just kind of force of habit. I would always do that when I have a full batch on, to break it up so it doesn't foam up and boil over. Obviously there was no need to do that in this instance, but I did it anyway. With just 10 minutes left in the boil, I added my Protoflop tablet. Cooey! I also added the remainder of the hops, which was just short of 6 grams of East Kent's Golding. I combined the last 2 hop additions just because it was a shorter boil. I added my immersion chiller to help sanitize it in the boil. At this stage I realised if you're doing a half batch, it's only going to half cover the immersion chiller. I filled a fermenter bucket from a height and that helped to aerate the wort. Given that my efficiency numbers and my original gravity was so low, I decided just to use US-05 yeast to give it the best chance to attenuate down and maximise the alcohol. All in all, this wasn't a great brew day, but we live and learn. So that's the end of the brew day. Pretty uneventful brew day, really. Nothing really went wrong, but yet at the same time nothing really went right. My original gravity is sitting at 1033, and that's me being generous with the hydrometer reading. It's meant to be 1052, so that's a considerable drop. Not sure what went wrong. Well, efficiency obviously went wrong, but what caused that to go wrong? I mashed in as normal. There was a few dough balls at the start of the mash, but I really give it a go to get rid of them. Mashed 68 for an hour. Mashed out at 75 for 15 minutes. Lifted the bag out, squeezed the bag, got as much liquor out of it as possible, and then just boiled as usual. Now, I did only boil for half an hour, but even the pre-boil gravity is considerably off as well. I'll put the figures up on screen here in a minute. So I don't really know why it's such a big drop compared to what I was expecting. So that's pretty disappointing. However, we'll crack on with it anyway. It's going to come in, if all goes well, at 3.2%. Now, I changed it up again. I only used US-05, which isn't really a stout yeast, but then this first beer in the stout process isn't necessarily a stout anyway, so I'm not too worried about that. I wonder, I had sort of worried, that if it's such a low gravity that it might be really thin bodied and stuff, but I took a sample of the wort, took a wee mouthful of it, and it seemed quite thick and full bodied already. Now obviously the yeast's going to eat up a lot of the sugar, but we'll see. I'm going to get a bag of coffee beans and I'm going to let them soak in some spirit for a little while. And then I'm going to put the beans and the spirit in, since we're such low gravity. So I'm just going to pour the whole lot in as almost like a dry hop, I suppose. Try and get some like smoky coffee flavours into the beer without affecting the colour too much. So normally I would use just a cheap shit whiskey or vodka or something like that to sterilise any adjuncts. But I think I'm going to maybe up it a wee bit and use like a coffee infused whiskey or something like that. I think Jameson do one, so maybe we'd do that. So the Golden Stout brew has been an absolute, well, I wouldn't say disaster, but it hasn't been good from start to finish. We didn't hit our numbers. The efficiency was down below 50%. And actually, when I sampled it out of the fermenter there before the final gravity, I was getting there was a strange smell. Now, it wasn't unpleasant on the nose, but it just didn't really smell right. And whenever I tasted it, there's like an astringency there that I'm not really sure where it comes from. It's not an infection. There's no signs of infection in the beer, and it's certainly not the type of flavour that I could describe as an infectious flavour. I gave a small sample to a friend of mine who said that is the cold brew coffee that I'm tasting. I don't really drink cold brew coffee. I'm a big coffee man, but my coffee needs to be hot. So there is that kind of, it's kind of like a vinegary almost, but not the same. I don't know, different. So rather than waste time bottle conditioning this beer, what I'm going to do is I've just transferred it from the fermenter into a keg that I have, and I'm going to fire it through the fizzy beer machine and see if carbonation might actually help the beer, bring some of the flavours to the fore and get rid of that sort of offish flavour that I'm getting. Whilst I'm not afraid to send out, whilst I'm not afraid to put out videos of beer that hasn't quite gone according to plan, warts and all, I'm not prepared to spend money sending beer to people that isn't, well, not 100%, but there's so much wrong with this beer that if it doesn't taste right after firing it through the fizzy beer machine, then it'll either stay here and be drunk by my mate who will drink hard prison lager through a sweaty sock, or else it'll go down the drain. So I decided to do the glass part of the grain to glass video. Is my light right? Ooh. So as you can see, from pouring it downstairs to getting upstairs, the head is completely dissipated. However, what I will say, it's a golden stout. Yes, I know they don't exist. It's a golden stout and the colour is definitely golden. So the head's dissipated there. Probably 2 out of 5 for appearance, okay. You can see a bit of carbonation come up the glass, but not a huge amount. And what I can say is, whilst pouring this and whilst coming up the stairs, just wafts and wafts of coffee. So the carbonation has helped in that regard. It's sort of gotten rid of that sort of acidic kind of smell, and you are just getting like lovely coffee notes. like an actual cup of coffee rather than like coffee notes of a beer. So on the free, it's maybe just a little bit overpowering, so maybe go, yeah, I'll probably go, you're not getting anything off the grain or anything there, so I'll probably go like a 2 again, or maybe a 3, because it is quite appealing in a way. Yeah, we'll go 3, so that's 5 out of 10 so far. Mouth feel then. It's actually not bad in mouthfeel, you know. It's quite a heavy body, quite a full bodied beer, which is what I was aiming for. Unfortunately, obviously, the alcohol level's not quite there, so I'm considering it finished quite low. What was it, 10-10 or 10-9, something like that. There is quite a succulent body to it. There is, and I'll probably touch more on this on the taste, there is still that slight acidic taste to it. But in terms of mouthfeel, I'm quite happy with the mouthfeel. Yeah, I'm quite happy with the mouthfeel. So it's another 3, so that's what, 8 out of 15. So just slightly over halfway good. Just to prove that it is actually carbonated, I'm not just drinking it flat. So in terms of taste then, this is where, you know, you win or lose your beer, I guess. On the front, there's like a sweetness, like a real sickly sweetness, which kind of ruins it for me. Yeah, it kind of, it's too front end. It's too sweet on the front. You are getting like the coffee then on the sort of the wash and the swallow. But there's massive bitterness then off the coffee as well as off the beer. Shouldn't be that bitter, but the coffee adds a bit of bitterness to it. By the time you guys get to taste it, the few that have signed up to this project, by the time you get to taste this, hopefully it will have conditioned for a while. I've just bottled it off the keg. So hopefully by the time you get to taste it, that'll have conditioned down and maybe mellowed out a wee bit. I might actually fill up with another bottle for myself to try whenever I send it all out. But at the minute, that's sitting at a very, very generous 2. So what's that? 10 from 20. Probably the worst beer I've ever made. But yet it's not, because it's still, you know, not throwing it out. And actually, if you sort of drink it a wee bit faster, you kind of get more of the coffee coming through. I don't know what the chemistry behind that is, but hey ho. Yeah, it's not great. Still sending it out. Yeah.